Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for August 16th, 2020. So this week was my staycation week, so I did a lot of reading. I've read 7 things, which is pretty amazing. I stayed most of the time just at home. I didn't really go anywhere, except I went to see my parents on Tuesday and Wednesday. Was down there, where they're about an hour and a half south from me, so I stayed with them. I got to see my grandmother. We actually got to be outside and social distance with masks and stuff, but I got to talk with her for about an hour, which was kind of really good. She really wanted me to hug me at the end, and I just couldn't. I'm like, it was so hard. Anyway, so it was brutal. But anyway, she's doing really well. Again, she's 96, so it was just, anyway. And then I just hung out with my parents for the rest of that day, and then I left around noon on Wednesday. And then I came home and I just read a lot. Anyway, so we're going to talk about all the books that I read, all the things I read, and the couple I'm in the middle of, and then my possibilities. I have no idea what I want to read after I finish one of the books I'm going to read today. So we'll see. Anyway, so the first book that I completed was The Cats of Tanglewood Forest. This is written by Charles DeLint and illustrated by Charles Bess. So I have read other things by Charles DeLint, but I was a lot younger and I don't remember what it was now. Like, I can't even recall. It was so long ago. I do want to pick up something of his that's an adult book, so I will be looking into that. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. Point is that this was really good for a middle grade. Like, I enjoyed this. It had a lot of more depth to it than I thought it would be. Follows, I don't even remember her name because, you know, I read this, Lillian. Lillian is, you know, like 10 or 11, and she is an orphan, so she lives with her aunt, and they live out on a farm in kind of a rural area. So they're pretty much on their own, you know, unless the neighbors come by, but they're, you know, they have their big property and stuff. So after her chores one day, she runs off into the woods like she does all the time, and something happens to her, and the cats of the woods save her by changing her into a kitten. And then she has an adventure of that sort, trying to get to somebody to help her, and she finds the mother possum, and then she makes a rash choice or decision, and then the consequences of that, and then her following quest after that. So it was a really good book. I went in directions I did not expect. It got a little dark there, so but I would definitely say this is still a middle grade. But it was like reality. It was wow. Even with all the magic, like there was that hint of reality and the sadness of what Lillian is going through. So I really enjoyed this overall. But it was also sweet in parts, so I did like this a lot. So anyway, if it's a middle grade reader, I would not say it's a high middle, like older, but if they're, again, there's a lot of text, so it's not like it's, you know, it's like, it was, I mean, it wasn't a quick read. It still took me some time, but I really liked it. It was, again, I don't read much middle grade, so I don't have any, like, I don't know how to say what type of middle grade that was, other than it's a little fantasy. I don't know. Anyway, after that, I picked up The Remainder by Elia Trabuco Zeran. This was translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes. So this was one of the books that I wanted to get to for Women in Translation Month. So this is the first one I picked up. I bought it last month, I think, and it's a book I've been wanting to read for like a year. So I finally got to it, which I'm glad. But this was nothing to what I thought. So I did try to vlog this week, and it didn't work out, guys. Sorry. But I did talk about this a lot in that. So now I'm trying to think what I said. But this is a story really about 3 adults in their early 30s who really don't have it together. And they're all coming together to help one of them who is not from Chile, but is from, she's lived most of her life in Europe, to help with her mother. Her mother has passed away, and she's brought the body back, or supposed to bring the body back to Chile to be buried. And things just go wrong from there. There are talk about weather events that are happening, why that happens, and then why they need to try to go and find the body. in transit kind of thing. And then there's a lot of stuff about political things in Chile. And I don't know enough about things that happened in the late 80s, 90s, and I think this is early 2000s. It's supposed to take place. It doesn't actually say, but the way the time frame is, I'm guessing it's early 2000s. It might be 2006. I'm not positive where the current, or the present in here. I'm not sure, but I something close to that due to the stuff on the weather that I saw. I'm not quite sure. It might be earlier than that. Overall, I really enjoy this. Like 3/4 of this, I loved it. Like I was really into it, and I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know how it would all go together. And then we kind of got near the end, and things started happening that I'm not quite sure I was on board with. Again, with some books, especially contemporary books, I'm going to have a little contemporary book talk again here. I do not read contemporary books very often. I definitely do not read very many contemporary books that are from the USA or from the UK very often. Like I don't like contemporary romances. I don't like just anything contemporary. Like if it's contemporary but it has like a paranormal twist, I'm fine. Like that's totally different. Because we're focusing on the paranormal and not on social things. And I don't know. Weird people that think their lives are bad when they really not. I don't know. So I have a lot of problems with contemporary works right now. I don't know how to, I'm still never sure how to explain that. But I usually get along a lot better with contemporary books from other countries, from seeing things from people that are from worldviews that I don't have, and that they're totally different from the way they grew up than I did. And so I really liked in here a lot of the stuff that how these main characters in their 30s and how they were affected by what their parents did when they were younger, and like the next generation, and how the parents were still wanted to be considered revolutionary, or that, and the things they said, like we did this for you kind of thing. And they're like, the kids are like, okay, well, not really, but okay. I don't know. It was, a lot of that was very interesting. And I really liked the interaction and, but then we got to the end. I didn't like the end. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So we got to the end, and I hated it. I hate the ending to this. I hate the way this goes. The way the decision was made of how to end this. And, I want to tell you, but it spoils. So I don't want to say what the real element that I really hated in this, and it's something I don't like in contemporary fiction. But let's just say that I love this book up until near the end. And I was so sad that I was unable to give this 5 stars because I couldn't let that ending go. It just pissed me off. It could just be me. But it was really good up until then. So maybe that element will not bug you. It bugged me. I had a real problem with it. But that's just, again, I have my certain things about contemporary fiction that will set off my, I don't like this. Anyway, so I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I have it. I do think it is a book that I might come back to and read again and see if I could justify what she decided to do in the end. I don't think so, really, but I keep thinking I might. So I might keep it for a little bit and decide if I want to reread it. Because there was some gorgeous parts in here that some really heartbreaking things that the main characters thought about, or, it was just so visceral in some points that it was brutal about some things that happened in their lives, or things that they did or didn't do, or whatever. It was just, but the ending ruined it for me. So I also got to finish my audiobook. I already took the book back to the library, and that was Shattered Sword, The Untold Story of the Battle of Midway by Jonathan Parcell and Anthony Tolley. It was narrated by Tom Perkins. So it's hard to hold this. So this was on the Battle of Midway, but it was mostly from the Japanese carrier's perspective, which was very fascinating. Again, 4 of them sunk during the engagement, and it was pretty much a failed mission for the Japanese. I found it very fascinating by taking that point of view and going more on the Japanese side, how much I did learn about the battle, because I did not know a whole lot going into it. I only know that my grandfather was at the battle. I don't know yet, because I haven't had a chance to talk to my uncle, but my dad did confirm that my grandfather was there, which I'll tell you the story in a second. But I don't know where he was. Like, I don't know. He has a story that he went out on a mission and he came back and the carrier was gone. So I don't know if he was on Yorktown and that's when it happened, or he was another battle. I don't actually know. So I have like only a few stories that I remember, because he passed away when I was 10, so I don't remember a whole lot of things, and I guess I didn't ask enough questions. And so now I'm gonna ask my uncle questions. I'm hoping he's gonna know a lot more. But I did enjoy this overall. It gave me a really interesting perspective of the battle and how it went wrong, especially on the Japanese side, due to things that they just didn't even like take into consideration that they could lose. But mostly it really was a whole series of decisions made from the very beginning of what their plan was and how it was executed. It was a really fascinating, it was a really good audiobook. I would recommend it if you want to. If you've looked at Midway stuff at all, but have not seen a lot from the Japanese side, this was very well done, I thought. I just need to read another one now that more focuses from what Midway, because I didn't get a whole lot from Midway. I got more, as I said, the planes coming back and forth between, but I didn't really get a whole lot there. So I want to see, and again, I want to get another book after I get more information from my uncle about where my grandfather was. But it was very interesting. As I said, I'm really glad I did listen to that. It was definitely worth it. After I finished the remainder, I started A Heart of Blood and Ashes, A Gathering of Dragons by Milla Vane. So this is the first book in a trilogy. As I said, I read The Beast of Blackmoor, reread it last week to anticipate for this. It wasn't really connected to this at all, at least not yet. They only mentioned Blackmoor in here once and I knew what they were talking about. Other than that, it didn't really connect yet. But this was kind of like the setup book in the trilogy. There's at least, as I said, I think it's a trilogy, because this is out, and the second one is out as well, A Touch of Stone and Snow, and then there's a third one coming out in February. Anyway, so this was really big. It was 540 pages. I would say one of the problems with this book was that it was a little long, but that said, I read this for Tome Topple, so it counts. Anyway, I at least got one book done for Tome Topple. So this is a barbarian romance, fantasy romance. So it really has all the elements of a fantasy. It is focused on people who I would classify more in the, barbarians. They don't wear a whole lot of clothes, and they're much more warrior like. So this follows Medric, and he was being like kind of like there's an alliance of countries, and they're all very different. We've only got to see a couple of them that this is technically like a road trip book. So let me just put it that way. So this counts if you're doing the summer fling as well. So I did a lot of things this week. Anyway, so this, he is coming back from like being on the battle line in the south, and he's going north because he's been told his parents, who are the king and queen, they call them the Ran, but they have been killed. And he gets back there and he finds out that it's not just that they were killed, it was that they were executed. And then so he's like in revenge mode, and he finds out that the woman who had invited them to her country was traveling south of where he was at that moment. And so he splits off from the main group with his 6 warriors, which is a dragon. Which is where the Gathering of Dragons comes from. I didn't quite get that. I was hoping for dragons. Anyway, at least I haven't seen one yet. Anyway, but they call a group of dragons as like their warriors. So they head south and they go to exact revenge on her. But she makes a risky move and talks him into because she is a princess and could inherit the throne of the kingdom that killed his parents, that she will marry him, and so he will have his revenge by being able to take over both countries. So they start off, of course, on the bad foot of this whole thing. A lot of this I really liked. Again, this is very road trip wise. So now they're traveling north, and it's really, I liked all that. I liked the creatures, and kind of, because it's kind of prehistoric-ish kind of creatures that they run across, or they're, you know, trying to stay away from. There's a little bit of a science fiction or science, like a paranormal element with some of the creatures. I like that. There was, well, there's other things. I don't want to give away everything, but it was just, I don't want to say what kind of paranormal stuff, but I liked all that. And again, mostly this is a romance, so there is the back and forth between the two. We get both of their perspectives on how they feel about the other person, where their trusts and where they don't trust, and how they're hurt or, you know, upset, or, you know, or how they misunderstand something. And again, it's a typical that is it. My problem is it went a little bit too long on some of that, especially on this one point that he vows her not to talk about at the very beginning. And it lasts almost all the way through the book, and I was pissed off about that, like, I admit it. And yet, when we got to the end, when things, like, the last 75 pages probably, I loved this. Like, after that, I loved it all the way to the end. Like, it was just fantastic. So, I struggled a little bit in the middle with it, but I think the payout actually worked, even though I was still mad that this certain thing happened all the way through, or was held all the way through. But I think it worked in the end. I just think Milvan kind of pushed us a little too far. I think that's what I would say. So I can't give this a 5 because it wasn't, because the journey of the book it was sometimes hard to read. But overall, I gave this a 4 because it was really good. The ending was just phenomenal, and I totally want to pick up the next book. It's shorter, but also it's a different premise on how the hero and the heroine, you know, how they interact. And I think this was such a good book, and definitely a good fantasy. I did like all those things. It's just, as I said, it was just a little long in the middle on some of the stuff that their issues. And again, it's very hot and steamy, so just so you know, they're barbarians. They're very sexy. Anyway, so again, I liked it. As I said, I really enjoyed it. Again, this is the author of author Meljean Brooke, is also known as that, and she wrote the Iron Seas and a couple other series. The Iron Seas is the ones I liked. I really kind of want to go back and reread them now. Anyway, but not right now. I got 2 books. Now I got 1 book down and 1 more that I could read in this series to catch up. So anyway, overall, this was, as I said, it was a really good book, just not what I really wanted. But I finished it for Tome Topple. I read it for the Spring Fling. I'm going to keep saying that. Summer Fling. Yeah, Summer Fling. Anyway, so at least I got another one done. Anyway. So then, that took me like most of the week to read A Heart of Blood and Ashes, because it was a 540-page book. So it took me a long time, and then I had that vacation with my parents, so I didn't get a whole lot read while I was with them. So it was after that. But then on Friday, I picked up a few more books from my library, as I do right now. It's usually when I have my pickup time for whatever's coming. And I already have books there waiting for me, but I can't pick up. I only can pick up once a week. So the first one I picked up was Parade by Hiromi Kawakami. So this is the author of Strange Weather in Tokyo. So I didn't even know this existed until I saw somebody on Instagram was talking about her. They were mentioning all her books, and they brought up this one and said this was kind of a little short story that comes after Strange Weather in Tokyo. So I really enjoyed Strange Weather in Tokyo. I need to read some of her other books of hers. I didn't like The 10 Loves of Nishino, or whatever that one was. I did not like that one, but I'm hoping to read one of the other ones. So anyway, this is about just a little short story of the two main characters from Strange Weather in Tokyo, and it's just a hot afternoon, and they're just kind of lethargic, and he asks her to tell him a story, and it's very fantastical, and not really kind of what I would say connects to Strange Weather in Tokyo that much, except that I remember those characters really distinctly. But this story like is so off the wall, and it has a few little, let's see if I can find one. It has some like weird little, like some little pictures in here. So it wasn't super long. It's like 70 some pages, but really I didn't read that many pages. I mean, it wasn't that big. So anyway, but I got that from the library. It's called Parade. And as I said, it was just a weird little book. I also then picked up Grass. Oh, I looked this up and I'm not going to say this right. Hume Suk Gendrykin, I think that's who did it, who did the art and the story. This is translated from the Korean by Janet Hong. So again, this is a graphic novel, and it's very simple. It's very black and white, you know, stuff, but it's it does have a lot of great illustrations of, or you know, of drawings of nature and stuff. But this was a very heartbreaking book about a woman who tells her story, which is really heartbreaking from the very beginning, pretty much, and how she was stolen from Korea and taken to China to be a comfort woman during World War II. But again, it's her whole story, and it starts from the very beginning when she's a kid and the hard times at that time, and then as she grows older, and then when she gets stolen, and then what happens after that. I mean, I kept hoping things were going to get better for her. And it was heartbreaking how much she went through, yet how she survived and stuff. So this was a way more powerful read than I was probably anticipating when I started it. I mean, I should have, but I don't know a lot of people who've read it. I've seen it on here on BookTube, but not as many who had actually read it yet. I've just seen people haul it and stuff. So anyway, it was hard, and it made me think about a lot of things that I hadn't been thinking about, you know, of not just what happened during the war, but the after effects as well. And it was, as I said, this was really well done. Graphic novel, highly recommend this. It was just a fantastic read, just of stuff I learned. And again, it's one of those things where I've also gone, well, I need to learn more about that. But oh, it was heartbreaking. It was hard to read that one and finish that, but I did. And then the last book that I finished yesterday was The Years by Annie Eno. Is it Eno? And this is translated by Allison L. Strayer. So this, oh, you know what? I didn't mention that this was translated by Allison Markin Powell. Sorry, I forgot about that. The reason I remember just because there's two Allisons. Sorry. So this is translated from the French. So this is one of the books, I think it was on the Man Booker International last year? Was it last year or the year before? Because this came out in France in 2008. But I think it was not translated until 2018. Well, it says 17. So maybe it's 2018. Okay, 18 or 19. This was on the Man Booker International, I believe. One of those. And I put it on my list. It's been on my wish list for that long time because I saw it on Eric Carl Anderson talk about it. And I don't remember if anybody else did, but he was the one who was like, oh, I need to read that. And this was kind of exactly what I expected it to be, and yet I didn't expect it to go the way it did until I started it. So this is a book about her life in a memoir form of snapshots, but it's kind of like showing the years that she lived, and from the time she was born to the time where this book ends in 2006 or 2007. And oh, it was just fascinating. It was hard to read. This took me a lot longer than I thought. It's only 280 and 35 pages. But this took me many, many hours, like way more than, I mean, I'm a slow reader, I think, compared to some people. Like it just takes me time because, again, I memorize words. I don't, that's how I know how to read it. So I don't sound out things. It's just the way I read is different anyway than some people. I don't know if that makes any sense. But the point is that I can always tell when a book is you know, it slows me down when I have to really pay attention to each line and much more closely. And this was definitely one of those. And again, it doesn't help that there's no like real dialogue. What dialogue is within the paragraphs. It's just really, as I said, vignettes kind of her life from the beginning to 2006. So she was born in 1940, and then but she takes it a view of, she's telling this story, but she's telling it as it's the whole generation. She's talking for the generation, which I think she doesn't say I, or, you know, she'll say this picture of this girl and she'll describe her all, you know, about it. And then she'll say that girl doesn't know that this is going to happen. Then she'll throw it in a world event that happened that she remembers, but not a whole lot about, but she knows later she'll look back and remember that she knew that. And that was what was fascinating, is the way that she took vignettes of her life and connected it with world events as well as local events and things. So I didn't get everything out of this I wanted. There were a few notes once in a while where they would explain what she meant by a certain acronym, or like there was certain things where she would explain something like, just, yeah, mostly it was that. It was mostly names of things. But there were like actors and writers and stuff that I've never heard of that she just throws in as, you know, and I'm like, I don't know who those people are and I don't know how to connect to that. And I wish this had more extensive notes. I think this book would really be more would connect me more to it if there was like, it would had like complete notes. I'm telling me who all these people are, because I don't know if they're actors or they're just celebrities or they're what, like, I don't know like half of them. Like, again, when they mentioned ones that I knew, it made more sense what she was talking about, but sometimes I was like, I don't get what this means. I just wish I think this book needs to be have all the notes in the back, and it has to, you know, have that kind of an addition. And again, she had a few, and I really appreciate the ones that I got, but there could have been like 4 times as many and I would have been much happier. And yes, I would have slowed down the reading, but I think I would have got a lot more out of it. But that said, this felt like reading something, as I said, she's a few years older than my parents. Well, a few years older than my dad. She's, you know, almost 10 years older than my mom. But the thing is, it just felt so real on knowing what she thought about and how she dealt with things, with her family or with the world and stuff, that I could relate to how my parents feel about certain things that I don't quite understand sometimes. And I'm like, I don't understand why that could be an issue when I didn't live through that. So it was not a huge lot of those, but it just made me feel like I was reading a book of my parents' generation, at least my dad's, and how he might feel about certain things that I just hadn't thought about. And so again, it's the French, again, she's talking about most French politics, but it was very interesting to see a lot of that and how she felt about certain ways things went. Really, I just love this book. But I felt like I missed part of it because I didn't get all those notes that I really wanted. But other than that, it was fantastic, and I would totally recommend it. Just because I like the way that she tells the story linearly, and then she'll talk about her life and things that were going on, but again, she's doing it from kind of a distance. And then she'll talk about world events or things that, you know, most of them I knew or I'd heard about. Again, there were some I didn't, but most of them I did. So it was really, I don't know, I really enjoyed that. That's a book I've been wanting to pick up since I saw it. I swear it was a Man Booker International, but I don't remember what year. But I really, I'm glad I read that, because again, that was kind of a whim I picked up from my library, which is what I do when Women in Translation Month hits. I do this every time. Even though I have tons of books that I can read that I own, I grab a lot from the library. So yeah, I did a lot of library reading this week. So anyway, so let's talk about the 2 books I'm in the middle of. Man, this video is going to be long. Sorry guys, but I read a lot. The Summer book by Tove Jansson. This was translated from the Swedish by Thomas Teal. So, Tove Jansson is the one who did the Moomin Troll books. This was written in 1972, so this is later than that. I do want to read the Moomin Trolls because those are the ones I've always seen but I've never read, so I'm on hold for the library. Because I guess there was a readathon this month for that, which I didn't know anything about, but I'm like number 2 on the one book that they have that has the beginning ones, so it's going to be a while before I get it. Anyway, but I decided to read this book, and this is kind of a, you know, cheat for my book haul because I just bought this. This is a book that I've had on my wish list for quite a long time, and I just kind of jumped at it finally. So this follows it follows a grandmother and her granddaughter who are staying on an island for the summer that they do like every summer. And it's kind of like their interactions. The girl's only like 6, so she's pretty dramatic on certain things. So far it's pretty funny. I love the grandmother. She is so awesome. Like she is like, she deals with things like in a very, you know, grandmother or adult way. And yet she also has those reactions of like, oh my God, I have to deal with this. And I just love her so far. I've read 60 pages. I think it's about 170. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this today. I found this really interesting that Jansson was a Swedish-speaking Finnish author. So I didn't realize that, actually I didn't realize that there was a percentage that their first language was Swedish in Finland. It was something new. I didn't know that. I don't know enough about that. I guess I haven't researched that at all much, but it was interesting. So that's why I confused what country she was from. But that's kind of, and I guess she lived on an island for many years, or, you know, they had one too that's like this. So I think that's where she got this from. And, it's really light compared to reading The Years, which I just finished. I need to pick something lighter, and this was definitely better, very lighter for me. So far I'm really enjoying it. As I said, these are also very short chapters, kind of vignette kind of their life and things that happen and what they discuss. And I'm really liking it so far. So again, a lot of women in translation this week, but I'm hoping to get that done today. The audiobook I picked up this weekend that I started was Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power by John Meacham. The audiobook is read by Edward Herman. So far this is really going well. As I said, I'm working on my presidential project. Jefferson, again, is the 3rd president, so I'm not very far, but I made more progress this year than I made last year, so that's a good thing. Anyway, so this one, I'm not very far. I'm just into the Revolution. Like, it's just at the beginning where he's about to write the Declaration of Independence, and wow, you know, I really enjoyed the Washington and the Adams book, even the Franklin. I really enjoyed a lot of it. But you know what? I don't like Jefferson. It's hard to read about one of the presidents that I don't like a lot of the things that he did a lot of good things, but there's a lot of things just personally I don't really like him. And again, that's me looking back, 200 years or whatever, but still it's just like, anyway, but I'm still going to read it because, again, I, have this, which I think I bought at a library book sale. But as I said, I got the audio from my Libby app, so from my library. So I'm listening to it that way. As I said, I'm about a fifth of the way through. So I'm going to try to read some of it this week. I don't think I'll finish it because I think I still have 15, 16 hours on this. And I don't remember how many hours, but there's still 400 pages to go through. And I'm not going to make it for Tome Topple, but this is technically my next Tome Topple book. But it also fits for the history challenge that starts tomorrow. So we have crossover. Anyway, but again, this is a biography on him. I'm going to get through this so I can move on to one of either the next president or I might read Hamilton next. I might listen to that next. We'll see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyway, I have to read him some point because I'm doing intermixing between people who were actually the president, and then people that were important. I kind of think he might be soon, so I need to read that. So then I have a whole stack of books here of what I think I'm going to read next. So I'm going to go through these like super fast because I just, I'm not sure. So I was supposed to start next. Well, actually, I was supposed to start after I finished A Heart of Blood and Ashes. I was supposed to start my next Tome Topple book, which was the Vicomte de Brevillon by Alexandre Dumas. And this is the third book in the Three Musketeers, or the D'Artagnan romances series. So I really want to read this still this year. This is just not the time. My brain just went, no, you cannot be reading this chunky book by a man during Women in Translation. So I put this aside. I've decided I'm not going to read this right now. I will still try to get to it by the end of the year, hopefully, but we'll see. So that was just, I just wanted to mention that. I know I could, so after I finish the summer book, I'm hoping I can either pick up a romance. I'm kind of leaning towards The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. Again, it's the first book in the what is it? The Bridgerton? What is it? I don't even remember how they're, Bridgerton. I don't know. I've never read this series. Again, it's historical, romance. So this could be for the summer, fling, or it could go for the history challenge because it's historical. But I don't know. I kind of want to read another romance, but I'm not sure if it's going to be next. But that might happen sometime this week. And then I have a whole bunch of Women in Translation I could pick up. Another book that I just bought, I just got that you haven't seen yet, is The Great Passage by Shino Miura, translated by Juliet Winters Carpenter. All I know is this is about some dictionary or meanings of something, and a mentor and his his mentoree. I don't know what you call that. Anyway, I don't actually remember what this is about, but it's something about linguistics and stuff. So I hear really good things that I want to try that. I have Tokyo Inu Station. I can't remember how to say that one. By Yu Miri. This was translated by Morgan Giles. This one I bought last year to read and I didn't get to it. And again, it has to do with the man who was born at the same time as the emperor, but how different his life is. And I believe he is Korean Japanese. So I think he's of Korean descent, but lives in Japan. So I'm not sure, but I've heard that's really good. I have another Hiromi Kawakami, the Nakano Thrift Shop. This was translated by Alison Markham Powell, like the other one from her. This is one of the ones I own by her that I haven't read. So I think it has to do with some people who work at a little shop, at a thrift shop. And I think there's just the people that work with the main character, and I think she likes one of them. I'm not positive. Anyway, I haven't read this one. I've had this for a couple of years. And of course, maybe I'll get to Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarska. This one is the one book I'm supposed to read, but I might wait till next week when it's actually Women in Translation week. So I don't know. We'll see about that. And then one last one that's from my library is Fresh Water for Flowers by Valerie Perrin. This is translated from the French by Hildegard Cyril. And anyway, I got this from the library. I actually asked for them to buy it, and then it turns out they were already going to buy it. So I was one of the first people to get this. So I really should read it. But it's like 475 pages. So it's not a tome, but it's close. So I could pick up this one. And then if I'm in a fantasy mood, I might pick up Bringer by L. Catherine White, which is the last book in the Dragonstone, or the Heartstone trilogy that I was reading. Anyway, so that's it. I've talked way too much. I'm sorry this is really long, but I did finish 7 books. I have 2 that I'm in the middle of, and I have so many choices. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick after I finish the summer book. It'll depend on my mood. I mean, I'm thinking I might continue with my Women in Translation. I just have so many books that I own. Now that I've read almost all my library books, but I have one more library book to read, so I don't know, maybe I'll read that, the big one. Or I might just go in a whole nother direction, because this week is going to be hard going back to work, because again, I have to go through what everybody did while I was gone, and it's always a nightmare, and it's always messed up, and I know it's going to be tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow morning. I have to go in early to do some of the things that I have to do that we put off for the week that only I can do right now. So I'm going to have to go in to do that, and it's just, I am not looking forward to it. I'm not. Anyway, so, anyway, what are you guys reading right now? Are you reading for any of these challenges? As I said, I got 1 Tome Topple done. I got that same one counts for the Summer Fling. And then I read a lot of Women in Translation before the readathon this week, but the whole month of August is Women in Translation. So I'm really proud of myself of getting through a lot, even though a lot of them were library books when I should have been reading the books I already own. So that is my problem. And of course, I have a whole bunch more coming because I already asked for them for this week. So, well, they'll come on Friday. So we'll see if I'll read those. I don't know. We'll find out. So anyway, let me know what you guys are reading or what you guys are participating in. Again, I said I have so many books. Anyway, so I will talk to you guys later. Bye.